The Bel Canto chimes again, Tudor does the unthinkable, what's going on with Seiko, and so much more. It's episode 93 of A Week in Watches, a bi-weekly look back at new releases and interesting stories from the watch industry. I hope you know who I am by now. Let's get this started. It's been a really long time since I've covered the newness, and wow, the industry has been pumping out a lot of stuff, and a lot of it is really good. And also there's the Cubitus, so let's just consider that covered. Before we get into it, have you seen the new Timex X Worn and Wound WW75 version 3? Well, I'm very excited to show you our third collaboration with the iconic American watch brand. Inspired by the idea of keeping summer going all year round, if only on your wrist, the WW75 V3 features two palettes. One a dusty yellow called Sunflower, and the other a deep magenta called Sunset. Both feature 37mm brushed steel barrel cases and manually wound movements. Limited to 500 each and priced at $239, these fun watches are available now at windupwatchshop.com. Now, on with the show. The Bel Canto receives an encore. The Christopher Ward C1 Bel Canto is easily one of the biggest hits of the last few years, and certainly the most disruptive, catapulting Christopher Ward into a new strata of horology. But I'm not going to go over the whole thing again, as I'm beginning to feel like a Bel Canto cheerleader, so I recommend checking my owner's review from a couple of months ago for an in-depth look at that remarkable timepiece. Rather, I want to talk about the newest version of the Bel Canto that just dropped the other week, labeled the Bel Canto Classic. While essentially the same exact watch in terms of case, movement, and functionality, the Classic has had a neo-traditional makeover. Basically, four things have changed. The dial surface, also called the platine, the hour and minute dial, the hour and minute hands, and the sapphire crystal. Okay, that's 5 if you count the hands separately, but I'm not. Anyway, the most striking new feature is the platine, which now features a laser-etched guilloche pattern. Ever the classical feature, guilloche dials traditionally made with hand-operated lathes called rose and straight line engines date back to the days of Breguet, and have recently returned to prominence as both an aesthetic treatment and a symbol of craft. While making dials on a rose engine is the highest form of guilloche given the skill and time they take to create, new methods such as stamping, CNC, and laser etching do a good job at simulating the effect at lower costs. But I do have to say that the level of depth achieved by the laser on the Classic's platine might put it beyond other methods at this point in time. Next, the hour and minute dial got restyled to fit the theme with a wider hour track now featuring Roman numerals encircled by a minute index of small dots. Once again, elements you'd find on a Breguet, or a Roger Smith for that matter. The hour and minute hands are similar to the original Bel Cantos, but lack lume, as does the dial in general. Lastly, the simple domed sapphire crystal has been swapped for a boxed sapphire, which adds 0.2mm in height. I'm not quite sure of the reasoning here, as boxed sapphires tend to simulate mid-century acrylic crystals, which have nothing to do with the neo-traditional style, but hey, people like a big crystal. Otherwise, the 41mm grade 5 titanium case remains the same, as does the chiming mechanism and the various components that make it work. There are 4 versions of the Bel Canto Classic at launch: Oro, which is gold with blackened hands; Verde, which is a vibrant green with silver hands; Argento, which is silver with blued hands; and Azzurro, which is dark blue with silver hands. All are priced at $4,225 on leather and $4,540 on a titanium bracelet, and are available to order now with delivery a few months out. The newest MoonSwatch is as clever as it is useless. Now look, I'm pretty tired of the Omega X Swatch MoonSwatches too, but just when I thought I wouldn't have to talk much about them anymore, they went and did something clever. Absurd, but clever, and it's definitely worth a deeper look. So if you had asked me the things I might expect from future MoonSwatch models even 2 weeks ago, I wouldn't have said a totally new complication. But here we are, and that's what we have. The MoonSwatch Mission to Earth phase does something no watch has ever done before, and frankly, no watch will likely ever need to do again, unless we make some serious Jetsons-level progress in our moon habitat technology. So yeah, the new function is in the name of the watch, Earth phase, which, like a moon phase, shows how much of the Earth is visible from, the moon. Much like a moon phase, this cycle takes 29.5 days, but has the reverse order of phases from the moon, i.e. full Earth during new moon and vice versa. Now look, like I said, this isn't something you need to know or really can confirm, though I think you can use the web page for the watch to set it correctly. But it's pretty awesome that they made it, and patented by the way, as it's really rare to see something new, especially on an affordable watch. Before you go and say, but this is so dumb you'll never use it, we also have watches that tell the time on Mars, or display sidereal time, or show the position of Neptune around the sun, which takes nearly 2 human lifetimes to make a single revolution. So take this as you would any other astrological complication. Cool for the sake of it. As for the rest of the watch, well, it's a MoonSwatch in gray bioceramic with a grainy gray and black dial, the texture of which is meant to evoke the lunar surface. The Earth face is visible at 10, juxtaposed by a classic moon face at 2. As the moon and Earth faces are opposite, the complications turn opposite directions. Swatch also points out it's the first watch with both phases, which is a given as it's the only watch with an Earth phase. Mounted to a black Velcro strap, it's a fairly straightforward and classic take on the MoonSwatch, putting the emphasis on the complications. Priced at $325, this is a pretty special watch. While I'm not about to wait online or overpay for it, as it's the first of a kind, it might be a bit more collectible than others. Tudor gets to the choppa with their new GMT. Oh Tudor, you sly fox you. Just when we thought we might get through the year without another social media feeding frenzy watch release, you go and do this. You drop the Pelagos FXD GMT Zulu time, not just the first Pelagos with a GMT, but your first master chronometer Pelagos to boot. Also your first titanium GMT, which is what I've been waiting for. So multiple long-awaited and desired elements coming together in a military-approved package. This is like catnip for tool watch geeks. As you might recall, the first Pelagos FXD was made in conjunction and to the specifications of the Marine Nationale, France's Navy. It featured a countdown bezel, an MN blue dial, and notably, fixed strap bars from which the FXD name is derived. It was a very popular model, so Tudor followed it up with a standard version emulating the classic black Pelagos, and then got a bit weird with 3 forged carbon versions, 2 in partnership with the Red Bull Alinghi racing team, one of which was a chronograph, and a third, also a chronograph, made to celebrate the Tudor Pro Cycling team. With that catalog as context, Tudor brought the FXD back to its Marine Nationale roots by creating the GMT for the Aéronautique Navale, French naval aviation. Obviously, the roots of the GMT and the 24-hour bezel tie to aviation, so this wasn't a conceptual stretch. The watch is largely what you would expect from the FXD family. It features a fully brushed Grade 2 titanium with fixed strap bars. The case measures the Pelagos FXD standard 42mm with a 52mm length, which is a deceptive number given how FXDs wear. It's also 12.7mm tall, which is notable as it's the same thickness as the original time-only FXD, though with a pass-through strap, it would wear a bit taller. The dial and hands are standard Pelagos fare as well, with square markers, the snowflake hour, minute, and seconds handset, but with the addition of an orange GMT hand. There's also a date at 3, which is a nice addition to a non-chrono FXD. The dial lacks any real surprises save the use of a warm-toned lume. Is it Fotina? Is it just meant to go with the new orange GMT hand? The world might never know. The bezel features a 24-hour index with even numerals alternating with tapered hash marks set in matte black ceramic, all lume-filled. One cool touch is that the standard 12-hour markers, along with the hour, minute, and seconds hand, glow blue, while the GMT hand and bezel index glow green. The bezel rotates, adding the ability to track a third time zone. Finally, the FXD GMT features the caliber MT5652U, which has been COSC and METAS certified, earning the watch the designation of Master Chronometer. As we found out about 2 years ago, Tudor was going to progressively turn all of their watches into Master Chronometers, which they appear to be doing with new releases rather than retroactive upgrades. Just as a reminder, this includes a 5-second daily variation, 0 to plus 5 seconds, function within a 15,000 Gauss magnetic field, waterproof to the ISO standard of 200 meters, precision at 2 temperatures, in 6 positions, and 2 levels of power reserve, 100% and 33%. There's also some Swiss-made aspects that seem less about accuracy and more about the industry. For a military tool watch, this level of testing and certification seems like a logical step, and frankly a real advantage for Tudor to offer at the price. The Pelagos FXD GMT is priced at $4,625 and is available now. Has anyone checked on Seiko lately? Seiko is many things, but surprising usually isn't one of them. Yes, they do things you might not expect from time to time by way of colors or dial materials, or bringing back a design of questionable popularity, as was the case with the criminally underappreciated solar speed timer chronos that resembled the gnarly 90s kinetic chronographs. Seriously, the lack of love for those kills me a little. But really out of left field surprising isn't Seiko's forte. So their new trio of Prospex divers has me, and others at Worn and Wound, scratching our heads. After several years of mining the archives and recreating cool vintage references, they've gone and made something that is new and not very Seiko. Admittedly, they needed to start exploring new avenues, as there's only so many 62 Mosses and Willards and Tunas and Turtles the world can take. But where they ended up? Well, I'll leave it to you to let me know what you think. So what we have is a trio of 41.3mm diameter by 12.8mm tall, 300-meter divers with the newish 6R55 caliber for 3 days of power. Yes, it says so on the dial. And an industry-leading plus 25 to minus 15 seconds per day daily variance. So far, so normal. It's, well, everything else that is strange. The case appears to have wide lugs that hint very slightly at 6215 inspiration, but that quickly departs as the eye is led to very 90s-esque crown guards that flank a 3 o'clock crown. Yeah, 3, which, other than on 62 Moss-derived models, is not really Seiko's thing. But wait, it gets weirder. The bezel is, octagonal? But not like a straight octagon either. Rather one with rounded elongated sides, making it a touch square and altogether Genta-esque. Octagons are sort of sacred geometry in watchmaking. Use one incorrectly and you are going to step in it. But yeah, we're not done yet. The dials feature a stamped wavy pattern. Seiko is obviously not new to stamped patterns. In fact, one could call them the originator, but this texture just doesn't feel very them. It's flat and simplistic, not the 1,000 facets of ice we're used to. The dial markers are then applied, pointed tabs, all the same shape, getting slightly larger at 3, 6, 9, and 12, and doubling up at 12. The hour hand feels like a riff on a plongeur style, while the minute hand is a simple sword. Yes, the date is at 4.5, but if that's your biggest issue here, forest for the trees, my friend. Completing this strange picture is a 3-link bracelet with wide polished center links, because why not? There are 3 versions, the SPB 481, 483, and 485. The 481 has a metallic champagne dial matched with a black bezel. The 483 is blue on blue, and the 485 is a deep brown with what appears to be a brushed copper-toned bezel insert. So what does Seiko have to say about it? Well, they call it, quote, an elegant design combining full-scale performance and resort scene looks. Cue the Jimmy Buffett. Look, it's clear they were going for a dressy diver of sorts, trying to riff on Seamasters, Aquaterras, and maybe Aquanauts. It doesn't really matter. The point is that it just doesn't feel Seiko, apparently by design. The curious trio are all priced at $1,100 USD. Look, I know it's pretty snarky and I should hold judgment for when I see them in person. So I reserve the right to 180 should I get to put one on my wrist and like it. I can do that. But at first blush, this just doesn't feel like the Seiko of the last few years. And once again, I know it's hard to come up with something new, but being derivative isn't the way out. All right, that's enough. A Week in Watches episode 93 is over. Thanks for watching, like and subscribe, and pick up a Timex X Worn and Wound LE if you're so inclined. See you next time.